Okay, so great. So let's just get right into it. So first I'll start with Intellectus Qualitative. And thank you all for joining and taking time. We're excited that we have AI tools that are helpful, really with the DNA of rigor and efficiency. So that's our DNA throughout our organization. So let me just jump to the data formatting when it comes to putting in data into the qualitative tool. Typically, most people, typical protocol is to really put it in by interview. So I have 10 interviews and I put in 10 separate transcripts. Know that you can put it in other ways. So if you have particular research questions or particular interview questions, maybe I want those 10 interviews to be put out by just question one, dealing with this aspect of my research question. So I might put it in by research question and have different files in that way. Or different segments of folks. Maybe I have faculty, I want their perceptions, and then maybe I just want students or others' perceptions. So just know that there's different ways of putting it in, which will either, when the AI is working, tap into the whole transcript or just for those segments that you've identified. So just to put that out there. So there is I'm going to go through an inductive protocol best practice. So basically what I will demonstrate in a moment is that you can upload data, video, audio, PDFs. Absolutely, it has to be read and reread, right? So you don't know if the AI is going to be accurate until you have command over that data. So you want to make sure that you can vet the AI output to make sure that it's consistent with what you know. So in the inductive protocol, there is basically you start with a blank sheet of paper and it goes out and it will identify important excerpts. It will collapse those together and create a code name and code description. So that's really a cool thing. There's also a manual coding or a hybrid, human and AI coding. But for this purpose of this webinar, we will just look at the AI really grabbing excerpts, code name, and description. As with all the AI, you have to look and refine those excerpts, right? Does it make sense that those excerpts are important? Does it make sense with that suggested code name or that code description? You have to do that. Then we move into the thematizing process. So now I have a bunch of codes and I have two questions. One is, what is the optimal number of themes there, right? I have to discern that. And then secondly, which codes go together, okay, to create a theme, and then we'll go ahead and have that automatically, that theme named and that theme described. As in the case with the codes, you have to now go through and say, does that make sense, right? Does the theme name make sense? The theme description make sense? And the codes that go with it make sense? All right. Then we move on to the kappa. In my research, my own personal research, we looked at integrated reliability. But when we talked to folks, what we found is that people didn't do integrated reliability because it was too tough. Well, we've changed that. So now, with a click of a button, you put in some additional raters' email addresses, and kappa can be calculated for every pair of raters. So if you have 3 raters, it will do the kappas for every theme and overall for rater 1 and 2, rater 1 and 3, rater 2 and 3, and then some overall. So kappa is here and simple. And we really have a very nice user interface for that as well. The next step is going to be this research question theme rationale. And that is to say that now that you have these themes, right? How do they help address those research questions you have? So what that section does is it looks to align the research question and the theme, and then provide that rationale for that, right, for your consideration. So that's a kind of, I'll say, the end of the tennis swing, and then there's a refinement of that, and then there's download. I think one thing I did not put in here, but I'll demonstrate, which is that there's some visualizations that can be had to kind of give you a different flavor and a different way of looking at what you've produced. Okay, so this is my cue, so let's get into it. So this is the tool here. It's web-based. And so I'm going to go ahead and just create a project. Okay. And I'll just call this a demo. All right. There's a place to put in a purpose statement and research questions. And this is about digestive disorders. So I can say, you know, what are the experiences of folks with digestive disorders? Sorry for my spelling, guys. Okay. All right. And then the next question is really, I could change this. All right. So, and then what are the coping mechanisms? This. Okay. I know that's painful to watch, but okay. So we named the project, and we put in purpose statement and research questions and submit. At that point, we can now upload, as I stated earlier, it can now upload text or PDFs or upload audio, video, or just go to add transcripts here, or you can just paste in transcripts. So I'm going to upload 2 files, which is Brett and Sarah. And you can see that they're now ready to use. And you can look at these transcripts here, and they're about 15 pages each. So the first step on my AI qualitative journey is to go to AI tools and do the inductive. So again, I've done no excerpting thus far. I have no codes, no description. So this is really from ground zero. Process takes a few minutes. So you have to bear with it for a bit. And as I say, there's also this add code, which can be looking to code manually or with a hybrid version of it. And I think I'll demonstrate that real quick as well. So it's going to take a few seconds there. All right. So it is kind of a modern miracle that excerpts, discerning important excerpts, actually happens. So it is drilling through those 30 pages. Doesn't take it's not a linear relationship either. If you have 330 pages, it's not going to take 40 minutes. It's still going to take just a few moments. Okay, and this process is taking a few seconds here. And hopefully this will be the last round of it. Okay, so what the tool has done is it's identified 79 excerpts in 9 codes. Okay, so when I apply it to the project, what's happening is you can see where some of these excerpts are, and then the codes that are with it. Happens to be navigating. So the task now of the researcher is to go into each and every one of these unassigned codes and go into the details and look at the suggested name, okay? Look at the suggested description, and then make sure that those excerpts all make sense together. So all 3 of those pieces need to be vetted for each and every code. And it has that icon there. Okay. I'll just quickly mention that you can manually put in the code, okay? Or I'll look at the AI assist by, if I highlight a particular important part of the passage, I can go to AI assist, and this will just help you name that excerpt and describe it. So that's another kind of, I'll say, hybrid AI. Okay, so the next piece is to go into the thematizing process. So the first step is to figure out how many themes there are. So you can change this number here, but it's identified 4 themes for those 9 codes. And you can see the number of codes that are inside of each of those themes. And I can just go ahead and apply that to the project. Okay. And then you can see that different icon there. So that's the theme, and that's the code underneath. And those are the number of excerpts. And the next process is to go into each of those themes, just like you did for the codes, and look to see if the suggested theme name and theme description and code make sense together. And you'll want to do that for each and every theme. Okay. So now I think it's, once you have those themes kind of nailed down, you have your excerpts nailed down, okay? The next thing to do is to go into and perhaps get folks started on the kappas. So you go into the reliability tool, okay? And you can just invite folks to fill out or do the matching task of the excerpts and the themes, okay? And I have one that, just to show you some results. So this is what those results would look like. This is just some qualitative assignment with the different kappa coefficients. This was done with Marlon and Melissa, and you can see that for every theme, there's a kappa coefficient and then some overall average there. As I say, if you had 3 folks, or it's going to do every permutation, and then you have an all raters kind of evaluation. So that's the kappa. All I can tell you is it's a huge time saver. So that's and a question came up yesterday of, when should I look at this kappas? So there was a team, doing some coding and an analysis, and then there was some other outside. And I do think that it's probably worthwhile to actually have all of the researchers look at those, to do that, to look at the integrated reliability in the team. Because if you don't have integrated reliability among your colleagues working on a project, you're not going to have it with outside raters. So I do think it's worthwhile to do that, and to see if everyone's on board. Because if you don't have high integrated reliability, you may want to go back and say, some of those excerpts may not go with that theme. Maybe some of the theme names need to be revised. So you want to be able to have a very clear link between excerpts and themes, and integrated reliability can assess that for you. Okay. The next part is really going into, going into helping to build that results document. Well, the research question, theme, rationale, here are my 2 research questions. I can select themes to go with that and then have a rationale, or I can use AI to say which themes go with that research question. So it's identified 3 themes to go with that research question. When I hit submit, what's just happened is it's taken that question and it's married it with that theme, and then provided this rationale for why that theme helps answer or address that research question. And it does it for another theme and yet another theme. So that's that research question theme alignment. You can also do a deep dive into the theme descriptions. So I can select my theme, I can select some representative excerpts that I would like to assign to that. And here I have my theme, my description of my theme, and then the 3 codes that go with it. This is APA-esque, and then my supporting excerpts. So, all right, and then I'll do a quick review at the end of this. Then we have some visualization. So what this is the theme occurrence. So I have 4 themes, and I can look to see the extent to which each of my interviewees were there, contributed to that theme. So here, Sarah had 5 excerpts that contributed to that particular theme. Here you can see that, Brett had 21 excerpts that contributed to integrative approach, and so forth. So you can look at that by the theme. You can also look at that by the code. So here are my codes and the contribution of each interviewee to those. And then you could just add that to the document. All right. We also have a co-occurrence matrix. And what's happened at the theme level and the code level, and what's happening here is we have our 4 themes, both on the rows and on the columns. And what's inside is the number of excerpts that are overlapping. So I think the typical use case is to have 0. That is, I don't want my excerpts to be loading, so to speak, on many themes. I want them to be kind of unique. Here, I want to drill into those 8 excerpts to see why there's so much overlap on that theme. Okay, why are those excerpts overlapping? It might be totally appropriate, but this is signaling you to investigate or explore that. You can also do that at the code level. That is, we have codes on the rows and on the columns as well. I think the typical use case would be to have 0s there, but you may want to drill in to say, for these, hey gosh, code 1 and code 6 have 3 overlapping excerpts. Should those excerpts be split apart, perhaps? Should those codes be combined? So there's lots of ways of kind of looking at that, and that helps you to do that. Okay. The other parts of it is we have the kappa. Once you have a few readers that have several themes, you could do that. We have excerpt list here, so you can see what all your excerpts are. Let me clear that out here. Okay, so just to know you have excerpts and then the codes and themes there. Alrighty, so I think that's the broad view. We have some videos, more videos are coming, and other innovations are coming as well. But at the moment, I'll just stop there. Melissa, do you have any comments, or should I just move on to the next segment here?
We had one question about how to interpret the kappas, but that's all with the qualitative tool. I'm going to keep that.
So we help with that. So what the interpretation? So the kappa is an assessment of inter-rater reliability. That is to say, how well do 2 raters agree that a particular excerpt goes with a code, it goes with a theme, and to what extent those raters are also agreeing that that code and that theme and that excerpt do not belong together. So it's so that's the nature of the inter-rater reliability. And then the actual number from 0 to 1 speaks to how well those folks are agreeing on that theme excerpt relationship. So that's what it's about. So if you had low inter-rater reliability, it would say that these two raters do not agree that that theme and excerpt go together. Or, and ideally, you want it to be, moderate, substantial, and something of this sort. Okay, so were there other questions about that, or?
No, and just a reminder to everyone, please feel free to enter your questions in the Q&A at any time, and we'll get to them as we get to them.
Right. All right, so now I want to go to the quantitative, so I have to switch this around. So Intellectus Statistics. This is the response to other kind of legacy tools that were kind of difficult to navigate. People Googling around, and I spent 15 years saying, I can't figure out that tool. So we developed Intellectus Statistics for the non-statistician, although statisticians use it too, because the efficiency part of it is quite significant. We have a data cleaning wizard, which really, for those folks that are doing quantitative analysis, you know that a vast majority of the job is that data cleaning. And so we've added a data cleaning wizard to kind of move you in the right direction. We also have text classification, which is, as it turns out, even in quantitative surveys, often is some open-ended responses. So what the AI does in the Intellectus Statistics is categorize those open-ended responses into different categories. Okay, it comes up with the number of categories, and then it names that. So I'll demonstrate that. The DNA of this is make it simple. So let's preload the assumptions and interpret those. Let's interpret those results in plain English prose. And let's put everything in APA so we're not fussing with tables and figures and so forth. Okay, so let's move along to the tool. So let's start from the top. So I can upload data from different file formats. I can, for classes, example data sets to be had by the course. We have course, 60 lessons, 70 lessons, or by an analysis or by a lesson. Okay, or you can just paste in a flat file. Okay, so to demonstrate that data cleaning wizard, I'm just going to upload an Excel file that I've named Rosenberg Self-Esteem Scale, and upload that. And I think I should show this. So this is very typical of a Qualtrics file, for example, where you have several rows of headers here. Okay, sometimes you have the question as the label. You have Likert type items and an open-ended. So we want to transform that so we can start acting on that. Okay, so what kinds of things can I do to transform that? Well, the first thing I want to do is get rid of all the headers. Okay, I don't need the levels and so forth like that. So we walk you through cleaning up the headers. So let's get rid of that. The next thing I want to do is sometimes you have the whole question in that label, so just change these things. Okay, so this was age, for example, and this was sex of birth, and I'll leave those the way they are and apply those changes. So edit some of those variable names. The next part is really misspellings. Oftentimes there's, male's got a small m, male's got a capital M, and you go through and it's going to mess up your analyses having different levels. So we just want to use a little AI to identify common things that should be merged. This is before and after. I can apply those changes, and it will do that for every variable where it finds and it says, we should, collapse these things. All right. Next, which is very common, is Likert type items. So I'm actually using a 5-point agreement scale, and it looks like this, and I want to change it to this because I want to create a composite scale. So to do that, I identify the scale. I ensure that that's what the initial looks like. That's where I want to go with it. And I want to change all of these variables into into numbers. Once I've done that, now I can create subscales. So I'm going to call it pretest, okay? And then I have the items that are in the pretest, my 4 items. If you have reverse coded items, it does this all in one fell swoop. So I've identified my name of the subscale. I want to average them, say. These are the items, that's the reverse code, and that's the scoring, apply changes. So a very, very streamlined way of doing this. Okay. Next, I'm going to have a post test. Okay. I'm also going to average them. I'm going to identify the items in there. Okay. And reverse code. Okay. Apply changes. And go to next. So now I have an ID variable, doesn't hurt, because if there was a weird, something odd, okay, that or blank, you may want to go back and look for that individual. So, okay. Now I really kind of have my data set, and it's pretty clean. The only thing I would really kind of add is perhaps that my age is really groups, okay? And, this is, 20 to 29, okay? 30 to 39, 40 to 49, and then 50 plus. Okay, then I can put that right in there. So now my data is pretty darn clean. All right, so I have my age, sex, and I have my open-ended response, which I'll get to in a moment, and then my subscales or constructs. So for this was a question about transformational leadership, and we have that text classification. So this is taking that variable, okay, and then looking to see, how many categories are there, okay, and then name them. So so what we found is that some of these responses align with strategic thinking, some of them deal with transformational leadership, and some deals with values-based leadership. Okay. Moving along. So the tool has lots of plots. So very easy to use. I can identify my variables. I can identify my grouping variable. You can see helpful icons. This help throughout this entire thing. Videos throughout the whole thing, icons, so there's lots of help to be had. Okay, so I can see, hey gosh, those that were 2029, they had the lowest scores and it didn't change much. And then you can see what's happening with these other folks. Okay? And you can export it in a number of ways. You can label it in different ways and so forth. The analyses. So the analyses really run the gamut from descriptives to structural equation modeling to mediation moderation and so forth. Chi-squares, non-parametrics, and so forth. So all with the same ease I'm going to show you, which is if I run descriptives, I would want, my demographics, and I would want my pre-test and post-test, and then my bucketed or categorized qualitative. And when you do this, you'll find that the output has an APA table, and then this describes what's in that table. Okay. For the scale variables, we have an APA table, the scroll over, okay, for what these symbols mean, and a description. When I go to run a particular test, so if I just go to t-tests, paired samples, I just select the values, excuse me, my variables. Okay, and hit calculate. And so what the tool does is it's going to preload all the assumptions. For the pair t-test, that assumption is normality. It identifies the test, it runs the test, and interprets the test. The results are in plain English. There was not a significant difference between pre and post, and you can see those numbers are right on top of each other. Had they been different, it would have been interpreted. So no significance there. It has effect size, APA table, appropriate plot. For quantitative assumptions that are violated, we do enable, or as a default, the non-parametric test, basically a test that looks at what you want to look at, in this case, pre to post, without the assumption. So it runs the Wilcoxon, and then you can see that all downloads into an editable Word document. That's what I'm doing for a moment. And in that document, let me just do this. You can see here are the tests that were run. Here are the results. My t-test, and just if I can just scoot this down. There we go. It also includes, excuse me, APA style references for all the in-text citations, a helpful glossary of the terms and symbols for each of the tests that are presented. One important caveat, when you're doing research, we have purposefully published this with Turnitin. So you'll want to put this in your own voice, okay? And so I'll just leave it there. All righty. The other things I want to just show real quick is the data plans. So once you know what test you're running, so I want to, predict an outcome that scale. I'm doing a linear regression. I could jump into that, but I might want to just, for my methodology and for IRB, I might want to present a data plan that which I can download and edit for my analyses. I can also determine my sample size quickly by selecting the test, in this case, the number of predictors, and then have a helpful sample size determination based on different effect sizes, downloadable and editable. Okay, so I think I'll just stop there. Video libraries, one other thing. Both these tools are really collaborative in nature. So what I mean by that is that I can share this entire project with other folks by putting in their email address. Okay, and then what gets shared is the notes globally, and then all of the data gets shared, the plots get shared, the analyses get shared, and even notes at the analysis level. So all 5 of those things go to your colleague or faculty or students. Okay, so I think I will just stop there. Okay, so that's in the chat. Okay, Q&A. Let's get to it. So thanks for hanging in there with me with these. Let me just say 2 other things. They both have courseware that goes with it, so you can evaluate yourself to these statistics courses. Goes behind your LMS. They're competency-based, so grades go to grade books, and you can just say, hey, I want these particular lessons. We package them together and help you get it behind your LMS. Also for the qualitative tool, we also have, get there, sorry. So also be competency-based lessons that are there. So, okay. So quantitative tool using AI to really help kind of streamline the data cleaning, help categorize some of those open-ended, and then have interpreted output with APA tables and figures in pretty short order. For the qualitative, really helping to excerpt, code, thematize, align with your research questions, visualize what's happening, and then look at iterative reliability. So, okay. So this is being recorded. So for Andrew, so the reverse coding, I'll just say, look at the video, which is basically some questions are asked in the negative. So if I'm assessing happiness, are you happy in the morning? Are you happy in the night? How unhappy are you in the evening? So if you want to get a composite score about happiness, you need to reverse code that last item. So that's the reason for it, and it's making sure that people aren't just giving response sets to evaluate when they're taking a survey. So, but you can look at that. Okay, I understand that I can change 20 variables coding in the application, but it's much more easy to do this while applying codes. Okay, so let me make sure I get your question here. So I understand that you can change 20 variables codings in the application, but it's much more easy to do it while I'm applying codes. I'm not quite getting your question. Melissa, are you up on?
Came in during where you were coding the Likert.
I'm sorry, say it again.
I think this came in while you were recoding the Likert variables. But if you want to add to your question, we can come back to it. Just enter it in the Q&A.
Fine, yeah. What if the assumptions are violated, and we still need to resolve the issue? Currently working a large sample of over 11,000 and was not meeting the assumptions. Can the tool do that? So, large samples, you can probably, not have to worry about normality. What I do is when assumptions are violated, for example, this is the example, right? So the assumption was violated. There was no differences here. They look like there's no differences there, okay? The non-parametric, they show no differences there. It's telling a story. So, you have to tell the story of, is that either do a different test, okay, try to get it, descriptively or non-parametrically. So, but you want to tell a reasonable story. And here we're kind of getting the story. Guess what? These darn things don't differ from pre to post. So that's how I would look at it. It's kind of case by case. How, some of these assumptions are typically violated. So, and are you doing it for publication? Are you doing it for dissertation? Things of the sort. How do you mix and match the results, open-ended responses in the quant tool? Well, so what we found is that that the open-ended questions really came into 4 different categories. One mix and matching might be, hey gosh, do men and women really kind of think the same about this, or is it kind of all over? So I could perhaps run a chi-square test and looking at my my leadership nominal, okay, and sex. So it's really allowing you to kind of, integrate open-ended with other and ask different questions. So as with the other tests, the assumptions are built in. Here, no relationship, right? All right. So basically, there is no relationship between sex and leadership categories, but they could have been. So that's how they can interact, if I understand your question. Does the qualitative tool have a coding tree? I'd like to hear more about that. What do you mean by a coding tree? uh, we are thinking about looking at it globally to be able to move things around. That is all the codes and themes. But I would be very interested in hearing one, what do you mean by a coding tree? I think you mean by having maybe the codes connected to the themes. I'm not sure, but I'd be interested in seeing what you mean by that. And you can email us too there, by the way. I'd be happy to understand what that means and perhaps give us a suggestion for doing that. So a lot of things here were implemented based on questions like that. So thank you. Does this generate a log file or syntax command so that you can replicate it? We purposely did not put in syntax files. You know, like all things, you don't use the same utensils for every meal that you prepare in the kitchen. So there will be cases where you want syntax, and maybe SPSS or SAS is the right tool there. But having said, and for sure. Having said that, I think it's so quick and easy to run analyses that, we take 2 weeks of work and make it 41 seconds. So, you can really do that. So there is no syntax there. Just to speak to this log idea, we do have in the qualitative, kind of logging what's been happening and how things are going. Okay. All right. All righty. Other questions? Other questions that you might have? For sure, before I forget, for sure, everyone can get free trials. Email us, Ashley or Melissa, and we will get you a free trial. If you'd like to review the course, we can let you let you look at the courses. Let me just make sure. Here is some contact information for everyone. So Melissa's email and Ashley's email and my email, our phone number, our websites. So, you can absolutely reach out to us. Okay. So just to know that is here for trials, for demos. Oftentimes with faculty, we are giving free faculty training. So I know it's not common. When I learned SPSS 35 years ago, we learned in class, but SPSS didn't help us at all. We were Googling around, but actually we didn't even have Google back then. So anyway, we do give free faculty training to get you up to speed. It'd be great to look at that, do that training with your own qualitative data or quantitative data. My only request is to try to keep it clean before you get there. Otherwise, the sessions turn into data cleaning sessions rather than doing the analyses of sorts. So, all right. Other questions, other thoughts?
I'll let everybody know we're going to send the recording. We'll email that out to you. And we'll also include links to our upcoming webinars. I know this was kind of an introduction to the tools, but every month we have a full quantitative workshop and a qualitative workshop. So if you want to join the workshop and go through actually analyzing your data in the tool, you can do that.
And the other thing I would say is folks don't know about this. We do our best to, advertise it and let folks know this isn't, some AI tools, but share it with people. If you think there are colleagues or other students that would find it of interest, please share it with them and let them know, hey, gosh, for a really nominal amount, you can get some real rigor and efficiency in your quantitative or qualitative data analysis. So I just put that out there to you. Please share it. Okay, anything else? Melissa, anything else we have?
I think that's it.
Terrific. Thank you all for your attention. I really appreciate you showing up and staying in here. And anyway, happy data analysis to you all and have a great rest of the week. Okay, bye for now.